Intertextuality's fundamental concept is that no text is original. Intertextuality is the author's pursuit of creating parallels between his works and other contexts. This creates a network of intertextual links that readers can draw upon. This concept can be understood as a text unity lies not in its origin but in its destination. The text will end up in the hands of the reader, and then it is up to their interpretation. The author cannot control this. Intertextuality works because it develops the reference text. It allows for a new dimension to be added. Intertextuality applies to the work of T.S. Eliot, The Wasteland. The poem was written after Eliot had read the works of James Joyce's Ulysses. Joyce's work carved a pathway that Eliot followed, which he called the mythic method. The mythic method is a portion of the symbolism that Eliot used as, in its entirety, it is called intertextuality. Eliot said, "Immature poets imitate, mature poets steal, bad poets deface what they take, and good poets make it into something better, or at least something different." So this is precisely what he did as a good poet. Intertextuality has been intertwined throughout the Wasteland. Explicit, implied, and inferred intertextuality have all been used to create an ever-evolving piece of literature that continually creates more intrigue. Eliot grasped at the smoothness and transparency that Joyce could use within his novel, and used this intertextuality within his own. Eliot successfully intertwines the most significant literary works the world has seen into the Wasteland. Eliot successfully used many sources for his intertextuality, from the Bible to Greek mythology, famous poets such as Dante and Shakespeare, and artistic geniuses like Da Vinci and Bosch. The Wasteland uses these intertextual links and many more to craft its story. In fact, because Eliot used so many intertextual links, he had to footnote them so his readers did not get lost in his web of intertextuality. The central themes of The Wasteland are religion, nihilism, fertility, and sex. These core themes are heavily driven by the primary intertextual link in the story, the legend of the Fisher King. The Fisher King derives from the Arthurian legend of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table in their search for the Holy Grail. The intertextuality that Eliot used is taken from Jessie Weston's book, From Ritual to Romance. Despite this, Weston's book is not the only text used in referencing the Fisher King. The Golden Bow by J.G. Fraser is overtly referred to through the use of explicit intertextuality in The Wasteland. The Fisher King in this story is wounded by a spear to the groin, and his land is famished. The pain represents the infertility of the land and its people. The king must be healed to receive the Holy Grail, which also will heal the land. Eliot footnotes this story and details how the Fisher King relates to life creating and the various religious beliefs about salvation. The Fisher King's legend has been successfully intertwined throughout the Wasteland. The tale is so crucial that even the title of Eliot's work is intertextualized. The Fisher King enabled the themes of fertility, sex, religion, and nihilism to come to life within the Wasteland. The impotent king who was unable to fulfill his duty to father children. This is an allegory of the journey that the people of the Wasteland undertook. That involved the evolution of faith and redemption, going from nihilistic to religious. A society filled with sin and godless transforms into a community that has found salvation. This aligns with the Fisher King being saved by the blood of Christ, the Holy Grail, and fertility will return to the land. The Wasteland's world is barren. It lacks romance and love. This alludes to the Fisher King being impotent until he is saved. However, there are further instances of implied intertextuality within. Texts where lovers and marriages end in sadness have been referenced. For example, the use of Shakespeare's Ophelia and the story of Cleopatra's death. In both instances, the women kill themselves because they have lost their lover. Eliot uses these smaller allusions to strengthen the prominent intertextualized story of the Fisher King. The Wasteland uses multiple dimensions of intertextuality to build a poem that conveys the themes of infertility and sex. T.S. Eliot has effectively used a method that, through its benefit, has been perpetuated. How, by Allen Ginsberg, conveys a story about a degraded civilization. Its concept shows a stark similarity to Eliot's work, except Ginsberg shines a modern light on the issue. It is because of Roland Barthes' theory of the death of the author that Ginsberg was able to do this. Barth's idea was that the meaning does not die with the author, but lives in the reader. Ginsberg used his interpretation of The Wasteland to create a modern adaptation. The more things change, the more they stay the same. This goes for the poems Howl and The Wasteland, as the concept remains unchanged despite changing the time period. Ginsberg states that, anything you write now will refer back to the beginnings and alter all that went before, like turning a Venetian blind. The author does not want Howl to be judged in isolation, but in contrast to the works that it infers to. This idea is a crucial part of Howl because it is a modern adaptation of The Wasteland. Intertextuality influences the literary world and creates a vast collection of texts that continually develop upon each other. This enables readers to find new dimension to these literary works. T.S. Eliot took this idea and forged The Wasteland, giving it multiple layers of intertextuality. Eliot used a certain degree of intertextuality throughout his poem, whether inferred, implied, or explicit. He used the most revered literary and artistic works to enable his piece to flourish. The death of the author meant that Eliot had to leave the interpretation of his work to his readers. This is seen in the work of Allen Ginsberg in his story Howl. The Wasteland successfully intertwined intertextuality throughout its storyline and is the primary driving force. It is significant because it shows a pathway for others to follow.